Hello, my name is Simone and you are most welcome at today's Northern Power Women International Women's Day webinar. This is part of a 3-series box set where we are having the most amazing conversation with truly inspirational panelists, and I'm delighted to be joined live here at MSP Studios today by a stellar panel. And today we're going to be talking about levelling the playing field, particularly for female founders from global majority, because mainstream media reported recently in November last year that more than a third of global majority business owners report making no profit, compared to 15% of white female business owners, while 49% of global majority entrepreneurs cite difficulties getting finance as to why they stopped work on their business idea. Well, in the next 40 minutes, we're going to solve all of that, and we're going to create all the answers, and we're also going to change the world. And I am, as I say, I'm delighted to be joined by a fantastic panel today. I've got Cody, I've got Ngunan, I've got Shaznay, and I've got Natalie, who are going to introduce themselves in a second. But, you know, more than ever, we've got more females starting new business. So over 140,000 all-female founded companies created last year. And this figure is growing by over a third each year, which means that in total over 20% of new firms are now led by a woman, which is a record high. Woo!
Yeah.
Can I get a woo? Woo! So this is great news, but the research was conducted for the Rose Review in 22 shows that the impact of COVID-19 was still holding back progress, as female entrepreneurs have spent twice as long on caring responsibilities, leading to bigger hill to climb with making their businesses succeed. You know, why is there always barriers in the way? Why is there all something? Again, we're going to solve that problem as well. So it's a lot to discuss, there's a lot to unpack, and I'm going to get my wonderful panel to introduce themselves. Natalie, welcome, thank you for joining.
Thanks very much, Simone. So, yeah, my name is Natalie Denny. I am a writer and director of Skywriters and co-founder of the Period Project Merseyside and the Goddess Projects, which is an organisation for black women and women of colour.
So you just couldn't have one role, no?
I couldn't, no. I had to have them all.
Shaznay, welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me. So I'm Shaznay Spence. I'm the CEO and founder of EQuanimity, which is a gorgeous company which helps people to replace overwhelm with clarity and calm. And I'm a soul coach as well as an energy healer. And I also offer non-clinical consultative mental health support to my clients.
Who's up for that? Replace overwhelm with calm. I think we're all in for that anyway, aren't we, to start? Ngunan, Queen of Eurovision.
So yeah, I'm Ngunan Adamu, and I am a presenter, producer, international multimedia trainer, and I have iWoman Academy and iWoman Media. So I've been an entrepreneur for, goodness, 6 years. Yeah, so it's crazy.
Time flies, doesn't it?
It really
Time
does
flies.
when you're having fun.
Indeed. When you are on that roller coaster, that is the life of an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. And all the other things. Cody, welcome. It's great to see you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Codilia Gapare. I'm the owner and founder of eyelash, the first and, as far as I know, the only lash specifically for people without their own lashes. Cancer, alopecia. I'm also a Justice of Peace for England and Wales. I am also an ATEC technician. I work in the oil and gas industry. And I'm a TEDx speaker.
Wow. So I've got a whole load of imposter syndrome before we've even started this conversation. And I think that's always the thing that jumps out to me is the life of an entrepreneur, the life specifically of a female entrepreneur. And today we're speaking explicitly and intentionally about global majority entrepreneurs. But what kind of jumps out straight away is literally you're not just Billy one job, I need to argue, you know. So what was it that motivated you to become a founder, Cody?
I think for me, I call myself an accidental entrepreneur because I never set out to start a business. I did not have any beauty background. I had never run a business before, and I found myself with a need. I was going through cancer treatment at the time, and when my lashes fell out, I went and I bought lashes as you do. And when I tried to put the lashes on, I realized that you actually need your own lashes to put on false lashes. Mm. And then I sat at my kitchen table and I was going to bring a solution for myself. And then I realized that other people needed that solution as well, so I decided to bring it to market.
Wow. And it's a global business now, are you?
It's in over 12 countries now, as far as I know.
Wow. Amazing. Ngunan,
I love it. Thank you. Why are you not on my show? This is terrible. We need to book you on.
You're going to be hijacking this webinar, Miss Ngunan.
Already. Yeah, I think for me, I always say I was an accidental entrepreneur myself because I just saw there was a gap in terms of the number of black women in the industry, in the creative industry, and I always knew I wanted to give something back. No matter how little, and I think having my son was the catalyst really, where I thought, oh my goodness, if I was made unemployed tomorrow, what would I do? But also the impact that unemployment has on women in the creative industry, you know, and literally that's how iWoman Academy started. But it's interesting because you were saying before about a lot of us have so many different roles and we are forced to have so many different roles, especially as black women. And I think now, through the pandemic, a lot of people are following what we've been doing for a very long time because our jobs have never been, they've never been secure. You know, so we've always had to think outside the box and be innovative in how we approach employment and actually just paying our bills. So yeah, so mine was definitely an accident, but I always knew I wanted to give something back. So that was my route into the entrepreneurship journey.
Shaz?
So I was an accountant for 26 years, and although I loved it, it didn't light me up from the inside out, and I knew that it wasn't what I was meant to be doing. Anyway, fast forward, I was in a place of situational change when I got made redundant, and I realised that it was now or never. And I started my business 5 years ago, and through my own experience of going through situational change and knowing that in that period of feeling, what do I do next? That I could use my skills and leverage those skills to help other people to really get real clarity on what they wanted to do next. And that was the ethos of my business, to help people really replace that overwhelm of thinking, oh my goodness, I've done this for so many years, what's next? Is this even what I'm meant to be doing? And just giving them that clarity and then helping them get the calm as well. So it was that experience that I had of redundancy that then made me think, right, it's time to start living intentionally. And that's the ethos of my business, aligned intentional living. So I set an intention and started the business and took the action, and the rest is history.
Wow, amazing. Natalie?
So quite similar in terms of how we started Skywriters. It was after redundancy. I've wanted to write for a very long time, and I wanted to be really creative. But the roles that I had, I was a service manager within the NHS over eating disorders. I worked in sexual health, a charity right across the north of the country, managing all the education teams. So because the job was so varied and so demanding, when you got home, the last thing you wanted to do was be creative. You wanted to go to bed. So once I was made redundant from this role, I just thought I really wanted to achieve my dream, really, but I also wanted to use writing to support other people to develop and grow, and that's how Skywriters was born, really. So that's how it was sort of a bit of a dream, a combination of activism, love of creative writing, and love of community work as well. But with the Goddess projects, that was started about maybe 4 years ago now, and that was because there was a group of friends who were black women who loved being in each other's company, who really enjoyed sort of how we were fed by each other, just from like really, I'm not even a spiritual person, but I would say from a spiritual way, as well as just enjoying each other's company. So a lot of being a black woman sometimes can be framed through the sort of lens of strife and negativity, and we were just like, we're amazing. And we have a ball together. So why don't we sort of create this community, because we thought it was something that was missing. So we started the Goddess projects, and our main aim is to support black women and women of colour, minoritized women and non-binary people to develop, achieve and create community. Basically, so we started off with like a couple of women, and now we've got about 103 black women that we support. We go on events and activities, we have a festival, we have a book club that we specifically read black women writers only. And we sort of have coaching groups and support groups and things like that. So for me, it was there was something missing, and it's quite similar to a lot of the people, everyone here is, you know, we were the change that we wish to see. So we just thought we'd take the responsibility to make it happen ourselves rather than wait for anyone else to do it for us.
Can I ask, just, if it's not too personal a question, what age were you when you set businesses up?
So I was 30, 34, 30, yeah.
I was 45.
I was 32, 33.
I was 36.
So do you think you were born an entrepreneur?
I had an entrepreneurial mindset. Yeah, definitely. I always remember when I was in senior school and my dad bought me an Olympus camera because we've got a creative family. Even though we're very academic, we are very creative. And I would take pictures in school, develop them, and then sell them for 5p. So I always had it in me, and I was always thinking outside the box and what more. And unfortunately, you know, you do get the education system does not feed children like me. You know, I was quirky. I was sometimes classed as the class clown, but I just knew I wanted more. And I was in the chess club. I was such a geek, but there was all these little geeky, quirky stuff that made me who I am. And I wanted to create a world that I could fit in. And I think that's where my entrepreneurial mindset came from, because I always wanted something. I knew that where I wasn't how it should be. You know, I went to comprehensive school that was, you know, Catholic. I was raised in the black area, and I knew there was more out there for us that the school wasn't giving us. You know, so I was always I was that lion in a cage trying to get out.
I can see that on the side of a tote bag right now. We said at the start that, you know, 49% of global majority business owners cite getting funding a real challenge. Was that a barrier for everyone? Did you just go hell for leather? Cody?
For me, it was an absolute barrier. I remember when I first started, and I need to make it clear that when I first started, there was a lot that I didn't do, and I shot myself in the foot so much. And I always say, I know how not to start a business rather than how to start a business, because every single mistake in the book, I made it because I didn't know what I was doing. Yes. So apart from the fact that my ability to articulate my idea to people was not on point, it made it harder. But then it also made it harder because there was no end-to-end offering of where to go from one step to the next if you didn't know what you were doing. I had a brilliant business idea, but for me to be taught from going from a woman with an idea to become a business person, that's a very hard step. And the people that have the purse strings that own the key to those managers do not care that you've got a brilliant business idea, do not care that, you know, they want a finished product. You as a person, you have to know how to balance your books. You have to know what, you know, it's like net profit is. You have to know all this. But this is a kid who was coming from Zimbabwe, who was an immigrant, who had never run a business and stuff. And in the end, I had to go to my friends and family. I wouldn't have started SoulCoach if I had depended on someone, on institutions to lend me money, because they were never going to lend me money. It didn't matter how good my business plan is. They wanted somebody who was an all-rounder. And it takes you being allowed to sit in those chairs to learn those things. And you were never allowed to do that, but you were supposed to come with a business idea. And I'll tell you something else. Even now, when I've got a product that is turnover more than $1 million, that is in 21 countries, it is still a massive challenge for me.
And I'll come into that. You know, I've been an entrepreneur now for going on 6 years, and I've sat in different spaces, different rooms. I've hosted different events, and the message that I've heard quite a few times is it's not even about having a finished product, because what I've learned and what I've observed is that even as a black female entrepreneur, it's about who you know. You've got an amazing idea, and I've seen people who've just got a seed of an idea, but because they know the right people, they get that support. So don't ever think that it's because you wasn't an all-rounder. That's not it at all. You just went in the right circles, you know. And I think that's one of the lessons that I've learned along the way. You know, there'll be people watching this thinking, "Oh no, it's not like that." But actually, I've experienced that. You know, I remember my first grant was for 15,000. And it's because I'd been at a conference with one of it was a funding manager, and I got up to talk to say what iWoman was all about, and they loved the idea. And I got support with my application. Not everyone gets that. I was in the right space, in the right room. So no one should ever feel as if, oh, they haven't got the right idea, or they haven't got everything, or everything ticked off the list. It's when you're in the right rooms with the right people. Black women, when it comes to even like venture capitalist funding, they get, I think it's like 0.8%. It's unbelievable, but on paper, when you look at statistics, black women are the most entrepreneurial, you know, because we have to be. So then you look at our products and think, what am I saying that's different to the next person? Is my language, am I speaking the wrong language? Am I not in the right spaces? Like, what is it? You know, and so many times I hear people say, oh, but I just had an idea and I didn't know what I was doing. But I was so lucky and I was given this many thousands. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, I've worked my butt off to get a business plan, to do a business model canvas, to look at my forecast, but yet what am I doing wrong? So I think these are the conversations with people who hold the purse strings to say, all right, then what are we doing wrong? You know, why isn't that money going to these black entrepreneurs? You know, I think I'm tired of hearing, you know, we're not doing enough, because it's kind of gaslighting. Yeah. You know.
So this is about, I've written down, it's change, it's educate.
Yeah.
You know, it's the people who are giving the money, that 0.8% of VCs, venture capitalists out there, that's criminal, isn't it? Yeah. So it's not a case of you should be better and better informed. You need to help us understand. We need, you need that support. So you went to your family to get the support.
Yeah,
you know, you had a network, Ngunan, you know, it's...
I ended up using, and because I think at some point you have to be intentional about what you want, and I'm not scared or embarrassed to say I used the cancer card. I was like, are you gonna say no to your goals? Just had cancer. Can I have 5,000, please? Yeah. And people gave me the money because it's like I really, really wanted this idea to get to market. But then I'm gonna come back to what we're trying to do is leveling the playing field. And we can't wait for other people to give us what we want. Us as women, we have to prepare when we go. And it starts with the mindset. What are you looking? Because if you go there thinking, they're not going to give me the money and stuff like that, be prepared. I've always said, the first time people invited me to the table, it was because I'm black. The second time they invited me because they realized I deserved to be there. So go there. The first time they will invite you there is because they want their quota, but go there with everything that you need. Let it not be your fault that you've been turned down. Know your business, study your numbers, know what you need to go there with, so that you cannot turn around and say, oh, they say this. Because when we then do these statistics, let's show that we have done everything that we can and we're still not getting there. And I agree with you. Sometimes we are doing all we can, but then we are not going to wait to say somebody's going to give it to us, because they're not. If you have to do 110% better than the next person because you know that you've got these challenges, that's what you need to do, because it's about, if starting a business was easy, everyone would have done it. Yeah. It's hard, so go the extra mile.
Yeah.
Natalie, what have you had to overcome to get your multi-businesses funded, up and running? You know, you've got so much people power and community that has driven.
I think that's been one of the main things for Skywriters, because the way we started was we crowdfunded to get ourselves off the ground. The idea was that it was about creating community and having people invested as Skywriters themselves. So we had a GoFundMe that we had out for a couple of months, and everyone who contributed to the GoFundMe was featured in our book, which was the thing that we were doing with our education and creative writing sessions. And I think that sort of investment has really been great for Skywriters in terms of the long term. If people are actually interested in what we're doing, they were sort of committed, not just through ideas, even though there was plenty of people that didn't contribute financially, but would sort of invite me into rooms, or would share the information that I had. And we didn't meet the full that we asked for, but we got enough that would allow me to think I wasn't going to end up on the streets. So I was like, okay, got enough at first, I can go away, I can design these programs, I can speak to the community, I can get this out there. And that was one of the things that really allowed me the space and time, because I think what happens, what people forget about setting up your own business is that you need time to think. But you don't get time to think because you're always thinking about the next grant, you know, the next bit of funding, you know, the next activity or whatever it is that you're delivering, you know, talking to community members or stakeholders or anyone. And for me, when it comes to having a business, having that really valuable time and space to breathe and think and to let your ideas digest and develop is something that I think would be really beneficial to a lot of female entrepreneurs, especially black female entrepreneurs, because we talk about all of us with 25 million different hats on. So it means that in our day-to-day life anyway, we've already got a lot going on. So that gave me a bit of a space, and I also got a little bit of support from the likes of the School of Social Entrepreneurs. So I applied to get a MAT. They gave me a little bit of a grant. And these sort of little bits allowed me to sort of feel comfortable and to think, okay, people believe in me, I can make this work. And then I just went out and got myself a business advisor from the Enterprise Hub, sort of done all the work with the SSC cohort as well, and used a lot of my contacts from the community work that I've done in the past to say, this is what I'm doing, you know, are you interested, meeting up with people. I think the other thing with my business is that they're all like social enterprises, so it's a little bit different in terms of people can see that maybe what I'm doing is a beneficial thing for the community rather than from a corporate, which is nothing wrong with that, but my businesses have always been really centred on trying to solve problems, you know, and trying to look at how we can make our communities just and have a nicer experience of life. So that was a lot of what we did at the beginning, and then what I'm finding now, 2 years on, and even in the beginning is that now people are coming to me. I'm getting emails and people are coming to me with opportunities. I think the next step for Skywriters, because we are coming out of the startup phase now, is that we want to look for more long-term funding. And I think this is the crucial crunch point for a lot of organisations. Then first 2 years, okay, you're fresh, you're new, you're on the scene, but what about the consistent investment and consistent support, not just from the community, but from the people who hold the purse strings, who can really make the difference?
It's absolutely that, isn't it? And you think a lot of businesses, that's where a lot of female businesses particularly fail in those first 2 years, because you get to that fear and you're like, it becomes too difficult. The doors are too closed. You know, and you think, God, I'm going to get so prepared, but actually it's not there. And the thing that we're highlighting today is that there's no one journey. Everyone, guess what? Not every global majority female entrepreneur is the same. Who knew? You know, what was your journey, Shaz?
So, as I said, I left a corporate career, and I didn't go down the funding route. So I self-funded my business because I was looking for one-to-one clients and also doing some corporate work. So I had to really use my voice and say, look, this is how I'm going to help you to change your life as a soul coach or as an energy healer or as a non-clinical mental health advocate. The barriers I think that I experienced were that people sometimes didn't believe that because I didn't have a physical product that that's what I was going to do for them, and especially as a black woman. And because I look younger than I am as well, that was also a barrier sometimes. You know, as a soul coach or as a life coach, people want to think that you can help them. So I'm blessed with good skin. So people sometimes thought, well, who's this kid that is saying that they can help me? So that was a little bit of a barrier. The funding part of things, as I say, I didn't go down that route because I self-funded and just had to really own my story and believe in myself that actually I can help you. So I guess because I had invested in coaching myself and kind of gone down that route myself, I was able to then really stand in that and just help people to realise that actually I could help them.
Because beyond the funding thing, the money thing, the asking for money, you know, that how do you put a value, how do you put a price on things? It's, you know, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, that's tough as well. Where did you start with that? How did you know where to start on your pricing structure?
So I had a coach. I've invested in coaching for many, many years. So I had to really work on my money story. And I think as a black woman as well, that was even more important because I had to go into rooms and stand there in my authentic truth and say, well, actually, yes, it's going to cost you so many thousand to work with me, you know, or whereas previously, in the corporate world, I wouldn't have felt confident to have said that. And for me to go in and say, look, this is an intangible that I'm offering to you, but it's worth this much, that was a huge journey for me.
Does that get easier, the money thing? This is me just getting self-help now as well.
I think I'm quite hard-faced, to be honest, because I just thought, you know, you've worked in these roles for so long, you know the value of your work, you know that you've got the talent, and you know that you've got what it takes to do this. And I invested in myself because I think you have to back yourself, you have to value yourself, because when you are in front of them, you know, funders, they want to know that they are with the real deal, basically, and that their money is in safe hands. So I used to just be really open and honest, and I obviously done my market research and looked at things like that, because some of my services aren't a product either, a sort of creative writing. People are like, oh, what's that? You know what I mean? So from me, I was just really, no, that's me, that's the day rate for that, that's the that. And sometimes I didn't get work as a result of it. I'd have conversations with people, and then they'd go, yeah, we want you in, and then we'll go, yeah, we'll give you 50 quid, and I'd be like, oh, you won't. No, you won't. You won't see me. I'll be in bed. So it was this idea of being really honest and being able to break down why is it that you're charging that amount, and also making sure that you bring in value to that. So I honestly believe that the service that I provide is worth it, and if anything, I'd probably undersell myself, but not just because it was early days and I was sort of looking at the pricing structure. But I also got it wrong at some point as well. Like, I remember going for a decent sized bid, and I completely forgot to put like the extra 20% on. And then I got it, and then I was like, oh, you know what I mean? And you can do that sometimes, and I think it's important to be honest about things like this. Is that you were talking before about making the mistakes and learning from their mistakes, and then saying, I won't do that again. And so I think for me, it's really important sort of to know your worth, know what your sort of product or whatever it is that you service that you are putting out there is worth, but also not be scared to lose money, because I think sometimes we do 100%. Get that frightened, don't we, about, oh, well, they're not going to work with me and I'm going to get, but then on the long term, it worked in my benefit, because then I was able to say, well, this is an example of a project that I've run before at this price, and this was the outcome, this was the impact, and know that I wasn't underselling myself on that way, and I was being, you know, I was valuing myself, and that is a real, I think it is a turning point, when you are an entrepreneur, especially a woman, especially a black woman, that you've got to really own your work, because a lot of people will devalue maybe what you've got to offer, and you've got to really believe in it in order to sort of get that across and make sure that you are receiving what you're owed, basically.
Yeah, I think for me, I think one of the best advice that I was given is not every opportunity is an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that came because I was so scared to turn down, like you say, you're broke, your rent is due, and somebody's offering you 500. And I'm a speaker, and I know that I'm worth a lot more than that. And somebody, I know if they were to ask, you know, it's like a different person, they would pay them more. And I have earned my stripes, and I deserve, and you find this opportunity. And people need to stop paying us with exposure. You found us because we're out there. If I wasn't exposed, you wouldn't have found me. So no, exposure is not what we're looking for. It's
it makes me laugh because you get, I've had that a few times.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are times when I would actually approach a company and offer to speak for free, because there is a mutual benefit to me doing that. But then there are times when people would really look at me and be quite offended that I will not speak for free, or I will not speak for, you know, a certain amount of money. So not every opportunity that lands on your door is an opportunity, because while you're busy concentrating, I know that I have said to people, anybody who wants me to do anything during the Black History Month or International Women's Day, I will not be giving discounts, because that's premium time for speakers. And those are the things that you learn as you go on, I'm not saying that I don't ever, you know, it's like give discounts or speak for free, but then there are times when you have to make sure that, you know, it's like, as much as I think this is going to be good for me, I need to walk away, because if I take every opportunity, I'm always going to be doing things for free.
And who holds you to account on this? Is this where the power of the network comes in? You talked before about at the start, and I knew I had a network around me, and that enabled me. Is that key to this as well, to go, stop giving it away for free, Cody? Stop, you know.
I've got loads of mentors, unofficial mentor. Like, I've got an array of people that are not necessarily from my industry, who may be business folks. And so I remember a good friend of mine said to me, when you're, I was laughing because I was that yes person that wanted to help everyone, and he said, while you're helping everyone else, who's looking after your child? And that's when it hit me, because my son, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, he was 2. I'd gone back to university and, was on a school of social entrepreneurs. So I was doing all these things to make myself, the best entrepreneur possible. And when he said that, that's when I thought, yeah, it's right. Like my baby's growing and I'm busy trying to support everyone else's projects while I'm losing time with my son. So that's when I started making that decision to say no. And I know people still see me everywhere, but literally I get asked every day to do things, so, but going on the pricing structure, Liverpool plays a big part in how a lot of us price ourselves, because whilst they live on Merseyside, because we're so used to this kind of village mentality that Liverpool as a city is so used to having things for free. So, and especially when it comes to the Black community, everyone thinks, oh, but they're passionate. Oh, we're all activists. Well, no, I'm not coming on to be an activist. I'm a businesswoman. I'm a journalist. So there's all these different bows to me. But when I started actually working in London, Newcastle, Leeds, and I was getting paid properly, I was like, oh, goodness, I have literally been pricing myself so low. But now I'm just like, yeah, if you can't pay, I'm more than happy to offer a job to someone else who I know that's their price. I've worked hard to get to this stage. I'm international, for goodness sake. I might live in Liverpool, but I'm actually international. My work is international. So I think people have this preconception that because we are in Merseyside and we are Black women, that we're not worth that much, because they're looking at us compared to the next person, but actually they don't know us. Does that make sense? Yeah, they just don't know our background and where we're coming from.
And I think that's the power sometimes of a pan-northern community, in the fact that I love it when I see people, if you like, perceived out of territory. I've seen you doing something in Leeds or doing something in the media city, you're like, she's gone across a boundary, But I think that the power of that network is how we can go, well, actually, I can't do it, but actually, sometimes it's easier to sell on for other people. Sometimes you go, well, what's your rate? Well, well, I can't do it, but actually, I'll speak to Natalie or Cody or Shaz, and and I think that this is what their rate is. Yeah. And then sometimes it's like, and then the power in that. Peer network, and you've got the Goddess Project. You talked about this real positive environment. It's a real part to play in that, isn't it? About being each other's cheerleaders. But cheerleaders with a price tag as well.
Yeah. I was going to add as well. One of the big things for me this year is talking about money. I think as women especially, we don't talk about money enough, and I think it's always. And I sit with different groups and. I'm always honest. I'll say, this is what I charge. And I've got friends who say, is that how much? Actually, you should be charging this. But that conversation wouldn't have come about if we're not having honest conversations about fees. And I think there's always this kind of, this unhidden rule of you don't tell people how much you earn. But actually, as a community, there's so many of our women who are missing out on being paid properly.
Because if we share that as well, people think, oh, I can too.
Yeah.
And so I think there is something about, I'm literally, probably guilty, very guilty of that. But actually, it's really important.
Yeah. I think one of the things that make us not want to share is self-perception. That you think, if I tell people that I charge 5,000 to speak, am I really worth 5,000? You question your worth yourself, and you don't want.
I don't.
I think you don't want other people to think, what you think you're worth 5,000, but you know that it's like with what you've done and what you've achieved and where you are. But then if you say it like I charge 5,000, that's better because it's one person judging you. But it's like 15 people. You don't want to do that. But why don't we have our prices on our website so people know, because it wastes time for you to have a whole conversation about, I want you to come and speak. I had a whole conversation the other day. I went and I pitched and everything. And then when it came to it, this girl was an intern and she didn't even know that I get paid. She just thought that I am Mother Christmas.
Imagine now if from today everyone just went along and said the money, what it is, out loud, and breathe, and then every one of us adds a bit on for them. So all of a sudden the Chinese whispers are suddenly correct, but there's something in the power in that, because actually what you're saying, you're worth more. And actually if someone else goes out there and goes, well, I could do that for 5K or for 300 or for whatever it is, then it's a good role model thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
to go.
Absolutely. I've started doing Black Women in Business talks, which wasn't ever my intention to do it. But when we were speaking to the Goddess Projects girls, they were like, we really want to start a business, but we just don't know where to start. But they might not have felt comfortable approaching maybe one of the usual avenues. So I was just like, well, I'm not an expert, but I've started a business that's, you know, relatively successful. Do you want me to do something? And they said, yeah. So well, the way I see it, we're protecting our younger girls as well, because we're all in our 30s and 40s. We're protecting our younger girls women who enter the field, and you know, we don't want anyone getting exploited. I don't want people to have to go through some of the things that I've been through. Exactly. I would love, you know, not to be my phone ringing off the hook for Black History Month and things like that, because, you know, and then you feel like you've got to do this, this and this, and then no one's got a budget for you and things like that. I would like that to be things of the past for the generation that's coming up, and they learn that through speaking to the likes of us who've experienced and say no.
So that's the tips, isn't it? Say no, value your worth, say it out loud.
Communicate, and you know, I had a really beautiful moment. It was a couple, last year, I was contacted to host an event, and I gave them my fee, and they went, okay then, and they actually came back to me and said, we paid the last host this many thousands, and they said, so we want to charge, because I had underpriced.
I've done that.
And I thought, this is what it means when other women support other women. Do you know what I mean? And I was just like, thank you so much for being honest. You know, and I think this is when we talk about supporting each other, that's what I mean. It's like there's so many female-led organisations that just because someone says that's the fee, that doesn't mean that's what you go with. You can, if you know for a fact that that person's worth more, or your budget says it's more, why can't you just be kind and go, actually, we paid the last person this. You do know you're underpricing yourself. And when they told me that, I raised my fees then, because I was like, are you kidding me? I'm Ngunan Adamu.
So how do we get that into the world of corporate? How do we get that? How do we stop that question from even being asked in that, oh, well, what do you mean you're not going to do it for free? But it's Black History Month, I need you. Because obviously I don't need you the rest of the year, but only now, or only if I need, you know, global majority women at the table.
I think this is one of those things that we've always been saying, that when people talk about we're supporting, you know, it's like small businesses, that is where the support is, because no one is in the business because, you know, it's like we love spending sleepless nights and having nervous breakdowns and stuff like that. We are in business to make money. So when you say you support businesses, a business does not survive without money. Even if I was doing a business where, like me, I started my business because I wanted to help people. For me to continue doing what I do, for me to produce more lashes, I need to have money to do that. So do not say you support small businesses when you've ever asked anybody to do anything for free, because that is not supporting them. Because especially for small businesses, they do not have that margin to be able to do something for free, because I'm going to drive to the venue, spend time, a lot of time, because if I'm starting out, I don't have the experience that somebody has got, that you can just turn up at an event and speak for 30 minutes. I'm going to spend maybe 2 months preparing for this. So it takes me a lot longer.
And clothes, like, I love to look good. So, like, some of that money will go on some, like, for my wardrobe.
Because it's what makes you you, right? Isn't it?
You know,
absolutely. You know, and it's be you.
And my hair is expensive.
What would you say out there, Shaz, as well, or the top tips out there? How do you, you know, when you're setting that business up or you're running that business, you're in that competitive environment, what are those key skills that you need out there to, when you're in that room going, this is what I'm going to charge, this is what it's going to get you, I'm owning it?
I'm all about the authenticity. So as a soul coach, I help my clients to really stand in their truth and to know who they are, what their why is. You know, if you're standing in those rooms, know what your why is. Viktor Frankl said, when you know your why, you can endure anyhow. So get real clarity on what is it that I'm bringing to the table? what impact do I want to make on this earth as a woman, as a black woman, as a leader? So really know that, you know, surround yourself with powerful people. I talk about powerful people as being rocket boosters that elevate you and make you stand on your tiptoes. You know, we've talked about pricing, for example. We've all got people in our life who probably urge us to charge more. I've got a friend particularly who is that person for me. And also, you know, as well as having these rocket boosters around you, really being authentic, using your voice, speaking your truth. So knowing your why, having the right people around you, and really standing in your power. Authentic empowerment is when you've got that real courage to be seen, to be truly seen, and to use that voice. I spent many years being in the spiritual closet and also shining my light under a bushel. So that's the reason why I started my business, because I really wanted to bring some real intention into every single day and help my clients to do the same, but also to take that aligned action. So question your actions, question your intentions, surround yourself with good people, and really just stand in that authentic empowerment.
And Cody, you talked about when you start making, you made all the mistakes, okay? And we've already highlighted around this table, we're kind of more in our 30s/40s, setting a business up. So that young, kick-ass, creative out there, sort of in her 20s, what are you saying to her?
I think I wish I had said to myself, because for me, I think a lot of people who know me, when I was growing up, I was always bottom of my class, and I had massive big dreams for myself. And when you asked, did you always knew that you were going to be an or you born an entrepreneur? I didn't have the luxury to dream like that, because just surviving the school day was a massive big task for me. I later on found out that I was dyslexic, that's why I struggled in school. But the one thing that I was absolutely very creative. I mean, I could knit and I could crochet and I could sew by the time I started high school. And I was always this kid who could just turn anything. I never thought to sell it, so I don't think I was an entrepreneur, but I was very good at just like picking up things, and I would come up with ideas and the fastest way to do a task, because I was lazy, didn't want to spend a lot of time doing things. So I wish I had said to myself, look within yourself. Other people's opinions of you are none of your business. Because I had everything that I needed to be this amazing person inside me. I just needed to look inside.
Like Shaz was saying, take that light from under that bushel, isn't
Absolutely.
it? You know?
Yeah.
And what would you say out there, Natalie, to, you know, we talked right at the start about this, you know, the statistics of pants, right? What would you say out there? What's the ask we've got out there? And I know Cody says, actually, we don't want to ask, we're just going to crack on and do.
Yeah.
But what is that ask? How do we level?
I think it's about, you know, investing, you know, money where your mouth is when it comes to working with these organisations. You know, I've not met a black woman entrepreneur who hasn't got that grit, determination to, you know, make things happen and would double, you know, triple, quadruple on investment. I think so, you know, knowing that it's a safe pair of hands and actually investing, whether it be time, energy, funding is really important because you know, it is money that keeps us afloat, and you know, so many businesses, as you said, from statistics fail so early on because they haven't got that wraparound support. I find sometimes there's lots of interest when you're first starting off and maybe not in the long term, so it's funding not just for your startups but for your ongoing businesses that are at various stages. And just trust us, because you know, just speaking to us four today, you can tell that when it comes to business, we know what we're talking about, you know, in our respective areas, we're very passionate and driven, and we'll just rock it.
Shaznay, what do you say out there?
With regard to,
you know, someone at the start of that career thinking, you know what, I fancy doing this, but I'm not sure.
You know what, limiting beliefs and fear are real, aren't they? You know, well, they're not real. They're there, they're evident for all of us when we start something new. So I think it's about really deconstructing that fear, and I'm a big fan of putting love into a situation. Fear is the absence of love, so when you put love into a situation or into yourself, the fear just disappears. So I think from looking at things through that lens of love, you can really decide that, you know what, I'm really passionate about this. therefore I want to do it because I love me and I want to share my gifts with the world. So deconstruct the fear by just showing love to yourself. And it sounds a bit trite, but it's not.
I love it. It's on a tote bag. On a tote bag coming your way soon.
Exactly.
Ngunan, what are you saying to the corporates out there?
Similar to what Natalie said, trust. You know, have conversations, understand our DNA. You know, not every, as you say, global majority woman is the same. We all come with different education, with different experiences. You know, we're there to actually, we are innovative because we've been forced by society to be innovative and think outside the box. So what you get when you invest in a black female entrepreneur, it's not just a product, actually it's a different way of thinking, you know. So you're getting about 10 different people in one person, you know. So I've got a fantastic, I've got 2 quotes actually. One is Confucius, and it says, it doesn't matter how slow you go, as long as you don't stop. And that's always been my mantra because I'm a single parent with a little boy, and I'm not there competing with anyone else, but I do things according to what I can handle, you know. And I think a lot of female entrepreneurs, you know, you can't compete with the rest of society. You go according to your pace. And there was another one that's fantastic, which I think it's for all of us in this room. It's, I can't remember whose quote it is, but it says, there's no greater burden than a great potential. And when you have so much potential, it's like, you know you're crying out to do more, but society doesn't allow you to do more. So I think for 2023, it's definitely about thriving, not surviving. So that's my big thing this year. Thriving, not surviving. I'm not looking for people to fund us. I'm not looking for money from anyone else. I'm looking for support. But actually, if you want to buy into my product, come and buy it. I'm not asking for charity, you know. I've got a product, you want it, invest in it.
As Natty said, trust us.
Yeah.
Trust us, you know. I love what you said there, Shaz, about, you know, if you've got fear, if you're out there and this is what you want to do, but you think, oh, I'm not sure yet, or I'll wait till I'm, you know, I've got more experience or whatever, take the fear out, put some love in. You never know what's going to happen. I love the fact of having rocket boosters surrounding you. I love that. I think that I've got a table full of rocket boosters here. It's amazing. And I think one of I love the authentic courage. I love the, you know, not every opportunity is an opportunity. I think we can be sometimes kind of grab and think, I better take that because just in case, and I can't do this. And I think the whole looking within yourself and out there, invest in amazing global majority founders and entrepreneurs to help them sustain, grow their business, because absolutely amazing. And put your money where your mouth is. The end. I want to say a massive thank you to our phenomenal panel today. Thank you to Cody, Ngunan, Shaz and Natalie. Thank you to watching. Please do join in the conversation on all of our socials, because this is never about one day. We're not about Black History Month, International Women's Day. It's never about one day. It's about keeping that conversation going, keep moving. As Confucius said,
it doesn't matter how slow you go, as long as you don't stop.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for all of you, for all of our partners who've got involved in all of the webinars that we've put together. So thank you to Barclays, BNY Mellon, University of Manchester, Boohoo Group, the Royal Navy, and the fantastic studios here at MSP Studios. So thank you so much, and we will see you next time.